Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the next thrilling, exciting, shocking, astounding episode of the immutable, irrevocable, immovable, irreparable, inimical reading cow from the ebullient and effervescent other world with his taciturn and saturnine loquacity for your edification. If you're ready to consider the ramification, we continue today to learn to read Chinese. We're going to quickly review. You remember last time we noted that we have the Windows 10 standard Chinese input method installed. That's not the only one, but that's, just so anybody who picks this up and they just want to start right away, they can just turn it on their Windows and it'll work. Or you could ask the cow how to do other types of input methods if you want to try them out. Some of them are better than others. So, once again, we're starting with the Hundreds of Family Names. It's a children's book, and we noted that we don't have like a plural like in English where you add an S on the end of something and that makes it into a plural, right? So it's implied by the context, right? So when we see 100 family names, we just know that can't mean just like 100. It's got to mean hundreds because, of course, there are more than 100 Chinese surnames. There's like a buttload of them. And that's what we're learning about. Okay, so 姓名的由来. Okay, now the 姓名的由来. This is the surname's origin, or in English we would say the origin of the surnames. Okay, now, and we said before, 在上古代时代的原始部族就有了姓, and that's where we finished. Okay, so now let's go a little bit further. So at that time, how do we say at the time? Okay, we would say it like 当时. Isn't that right? Yeah, at the time. 社会 society. And wasn't that easy? 社会以母系为中心. Now, this is the one that I want. And we're gonna revisit this one. This character, the one that this one right here. So far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, that's considered 5 strokes. Right now, you look at it and you go, "Oh well, I think that's 1 stroke." But apparently, I think this is actually 2 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. So this is something that you're going to run into a lot, where when you're looking up characters, if you don't know what a character is or you don't recognize part of a character, it helps to have a kind of idea of how many strokes there are, at least very close, like within 1 stroke of how many strokes it's supposed to be. So now I look down here. Once I corrected that, now look, I've got this 母系为中心. That's exactly what it knows, exactly what I want to write. So, okay. Now, comma. Alright, now, at the time, society as matriarchy, it was centered on matriarchy. Okay, so this is like the mother system, right? So 母系为中心 以母系为中心 is going to be like in a matriarchal system. So at that time, 当时社会以母系为中心. Okay, that is going to say that we are in a matriarchal system. Now we go on further to say, 同一母系后代不同。Okay, let's check this out. So I know how to write in pinyin the matriarchy system. And Hodai, okay, think about that. If you have basic Chinese, you know that this is after, sort of like yi ho. It's like the after, and this is era, the after era, the era afterwards. It means the offspring, like the children. So butong. Okay, so I'm the when I look here, I say it's in a different manner of mixing, and that's not what I want. I don't want butong mixing. So I'm going to choose this one. That's correct. And Hodai butong, different system. And then it goes, oh, he didn't want that one. He must have wanted this one. And it guessed what I wanted, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. And this is, okay. This is the when, like, the coming together, like jiehun, like marriage, right? So in the matriarchal system, the offspring had different marriage systems. Okay, so we go for the sake of 为了区分. That's exactly what I need. 为了区分不同的婚姻体系。不同的Now let me make sure I didn't make a mistake. Okay, for the sake of distinguishing 不同的 Oh, you see, here I made a mistake. I should have had an N on the end of that. See, I wrote yi and I didn't get what I wanted because I didn't do that. So actually it would be better now for me to go back and select this and go hunyin. And then you see it figured it out. That's exactly correct. T. C. Bien. 有了. That's what I want. See. Okay. So, look folks, we're reading Chinese. 当时社会以母系为中心，同以母系后代不同婚，为了区分不同的婚姻体系，便有了姓。Okay. Now, is that fairly clear? At the time, society, as a matriarchal system, they were centered on matriarchy. So in the matriarchal system, the offspring had different marriage systems. Okay, so in order to distinguish 不同的 different 婚姻体系 marriage systems 变有的性 they also have names as a result of that. Ooh, we're going again. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at our next phrase. It's a more complex phrase. And we can use our tools to look up our phrase. Now, this is, look at this. Okay, bear, accept, undertake. I'm trying to see the meaning, time. Okay, God of the soil, a symbol by means of, thereby. You know what? Look at this. It's hard to make sense of this whatsoever. And the problem is that it's going character by character. And folks, you got to learn this early on. A lot of times, you need to know the words. So, that are made up of the multiple characters, and you need to know some grammatical structures. So right now I put my phrase in. I mean, I've been studying Chinese for a long time, and I can understand this. I'm not doing that thing of translating it into English in my head before I understand it. I just kind of read it and understand it, and that's what you're going to be doing if you stay with the cow, because he's going to show you how to do it. But like, say you're studying on your own. Let's look at the difference if we go into Google Translate. And sometimes this doesn't work. Let me warn you, if you go and get Mozi or Laozi or Kozi and you paste it in here, you know, a lot of times you're going to get gobbledygook. Let's see. Chinese to English. Okay. At that time. Okay, so like I said before, 当时 is a word that's going to mean that time. The society was centered on the matriarchy. Now, you'll notice, okay, they don't, the translation is trying to always keep the nouns with a definite or indefinite article or something like that. Chinese does not, Chinese does not have definite and indefinite articles, and it's a real problem with translators that they're doing like this. You notice that it didn't say that the society was largely matriarchal, or the society was centered around matriarchy. Instead, you get the society was centered on the matriarchy, and that's sort of wrong, but that's because it's a computer translating it, right? And the offspring, we would probably say the descendants of the same matriarchy, or of the same mother. The descendants of the same mother were married differently, of the same mothers. Or that would, I guess, be matriarchal system. Were married differently. They had different marriage systems. So let's look at this again. This is Tony Musi Hodai Butong, right? This is just the matriarchy's offspring had different marriage systems. Okay. Weila, for the sake of. Weila 区分不同的婚姻体系. in order to distinguish between different forms of marriage systems, they also had surnames. Now, look again, we can see the benefit of Google Translate is that it puts characters that represent single words together. So whereas if I am on MDBG, let me go back for a second, it doesn't tell me that shahui is a word. Now, if you pass the HSK1, I hope to God, for God's sake, you know the word shahui. It's too easy. But some people may not. Okay, you know, you can practice and you'll learn that. But I'm just trying to highlight the situation where if you're on MDBG and it's giving you a character by character translation, it makes no sense. Right? It makes no sense. All right. So if you use these in conjunction, you go, oh, Muxi is one word, and Zhongxin is one word, and Tongyi is one word, right? And now I know, like if I want to look up the word on dict.cn, I go, oh, this is a word. Now let me see if it's going to work. So I would go to dict.cn and put in Tongyi and look it up. The sameness. There you have it. Okay, so I'm trying to keep these classes to 20 minutes per class, and if you want to give me an opinion on that, that's fine. So I'm gonna try to go on here for another 5 minutes with some new content. And let's see. I'm gonna type in 古代的心。多为木字旁。Okay, let's see what we got. As the names in ancient times, and you see I've got this character is incorrect here. Ancient times, this should be names. Many have what? They have nu zipang. What is nu zipang? Okay, we're gonna learn. All right. 古代的姓多为木字旁. Now notice when I enter the pinyin for nuza, it's not nuza, it's nuza, which means I type, if I'm typing in the Chinese input method, I type NV, and then it's going to give me not an NU, but an N with the umlaut, which indicates that you need kind of where your mouth kind of comes together. Now, Nunzapang, when it says pang, it means beside something. And this means that you have the female radical, the female character radical on the side of it, right? So let's look at what we've written here. In the ancient times, the names, many of them have the Nunzapang, which means that they have this female character as the first element of the character, right? So if you remember from when you first started learning Chinese, right, this second element of this character here is firstborn, sheng, or like born, sheng. Xiansheng is firstborn, Mr., right? And here when I put the woman in front of it, the woman next to the birth, I have Xing, the name, the one that came out, right? Okay, so let's see if I got a period here. So in the ancient times, many of these names have the nuzapang. Now, let's get some examples. How do I say, for example? And who do we have here? We have... Oh, yeah. Shenong. Everybody should know this guy, Shenong. He's like a very important figure in ancient Chinese history. And Shenong... Xing. And what do we have? We have ginger, right? Okay, Shenong, this guy, he in the legend, you know, he's the guy in ancient history who he ate all the plants and he tried all the different things and he figured out the medicinal properties, like what's good for you, what's bad for you, and what eating different stuff does for you. And for some history people, they're like, oh well, Shenong, that's like Shenong is not the name of a person, it's the name of a whole tribe that were all into medicine stuff or something like that. There's a lot of different stories. I could go into it longer in depth, but his name is Jiang, which is ginger, and I think it's appropriate because jiang, it's very healthy for you. You know, if you have a headache, and this is something I didn't know when I was much younger, but you can make tea with jiang, and it will cure. A lot of times, it will cure your headache if you have like a tension headache or something like that, and it's much better for you than aspirin or ibuprofen or whatever. So his name was Jiang. And this is probably a good place to stop. So let's just, because I have a lot of other examples. I was just looking at the next example, which is Huangdi Xingqi, and I have an interesting story about the character Ji. So I'm going to save that for the next class. Let's just quickly recap. What did we do? I don't think we have really any really hard characters here. We should know things like Hunyin, right? And things like system, Qixi, we should know. And this is 方便的便 有了 have, right? Names, right? The same marriage systems, offspring have different marriage systems. And okay, so we're going to conclude with, in the ancient times, 古代的姓多为女字旁. That means that the character, a lot of the words and names have the female character in the beginning of it. And my first example is 神农 Xing Jiang. And remember, everybody, jiang is very healthy for you. And a lot of times people in Chongqing, they don't eat the jiang if it's in their hot pot, you know. They're like, oh, don't eat that, that's jiang. And but some Chinese people do eat it. And it's in different places, you know, people have a different... But I'm one of those people that eats it. So... If you leave your jiang in your hot pot, you can bet the cow is going to be nibbling on it pretty quick. So once again, thanks for joining the Reading Cow from Another World for another fantastic and exciting episode of How to Read Simplified Chinese. And join us again next time when we continue our Chinese lessons. And I hopefully... Before you, I mean, look at all the Chinese you're reading already. So you've just been through 2 lessons, 40 minutes, And now, not only have you learned how to read some Chinese that's informational Chinese. Oops, I don't want to go too far here. But you learn some things about Chinese culture. So I hope you'll join us again next time when we continue with the Reading Cow from Another World show thing that this is. And until then, goodbye.